There is a scene in the Pistis Sophia the church never wanted people to find. Jesus after the resurrection, not teaching crowds, not preaching in public, sitting in a sealed room with a tiny circle of people and handing them something history spent centuries hunting, burning, and trying to erase, something selective, something that changes the whole frame the second you actually let it land. And if you've spent your whole life feeling like this world fits other people better than it fits you, if fake structures exhaust you, if normal systems choke you while everyone else calls them fine, stay with me. This is probably going to hit harder than you want. Put your hand over the center of your chest for a second. Just do that. If this material hits you the way it hits some people, your body usually knows before your mind catches up. And if this kind of buried material hits something real in you, subscribe now. Because once you start following these buried threads, you do not come back seeing the world the same way. The Gnostic worldview only sounds complicated until you see the structure. After that, it becomes hard not to see it everywhere. At the top is the monad, the true source, not a bearded sky figure, not a local god with a favorite team, the source behind reality itself. Fullness, origin, the real thing. Then comes the break. In Gnostic teaching, a lesser being emerges, usually called the demiurge. This being is not the highest god, but thinks it is. That matters, because from that blindness comes a world built on imitation, control, hierarchy, fear, and confusion. Not fake in the sense that your table is imaginary, fake in the sense that the order running the place is distorted. The Archons are the machinery around that distortion. They are the machinery that feeds confusion, fear, distraction, conformity, ego, anything that keeps a human being trapped and easy to manage. And then there is the part that changes everything, the divine spark. The Gnostics said that in some people there is a living fragment of the true source buried inside the human condition. That part is why some people never fully buy the script. It is why some people can function in the world and still feel, quietly but constantly, that something here is off, really off. And once you get why that idea exists, you also get why these texts were buried. Because the second people realize they can access truth directly, without priests, systems, or institutions standing in the middle, power starts to panic. That is the real issue, not just theology. Control. If truth can be known inwardly, then the people claiming exclusive access lose their grip. So yes, these teachings got hunted, condemned, buried, pushed out, burned, and edited out of memory. By the time Constantine wanted religious unity under empire, the game changed. The Council of Nicaea gets remembered as doctrine. In practice, it was power deciding which version of Christianity would live and which one had to be buried. The forms of Christianity that were neat, manageable, and useful to state power survived. The forms that taught direct knowing, inner awakening, and the possibility that the visible order itself was compromised became a problem. Then, centuries later, Nag Hammadi turns up in Egypt, jars in the ground, texts that should have vanished, and suddenly the buried memory starts breathing again. That alone is hard to ignore. Burn it, bury it, erase it, and somehow it still comes back. That should tell you something. Now, before the 8 types make any sense, you need the 3 soul categories, because otherwise the rest just sounds dramatic. First are the Hylics. These are people fully embedded in the visible system. Material first, surface first, appetite, routine, status, reaction, comfort, repetition. That does not make them evil. It makes them fully embedded in the visible system. If you try to talk to them about deeper reality, inner awakening, symbolic truth, or why certain structures feel spiritually dead, they usually look at you like you are describing Wi-Fi to a loaf of bread. Not because they're evil, because they literally do not have the organ for that perception. Then you have the psychics. These people do have some spark, but it flickers. They feel that something is off. They're often drawn to religion, spirituality, healing, philosophy, self-improvement, all of it. They sense the crack in the wall, but they usually stop at systems that make them feel safe before they break all the way through. They want meaning. They want truth. But they often settle for frameworks that soothe them instead of waking them. A lot of decent people live there, thoughtful people, sincere people, still not all the way through. Then you get to the pneumatics. This is the group the Gnostics saw as carrying the divine spark in a fuller form. These are not people who slowly became restless after a bad breakup and 2 podcasts. They arrived restless. They arrived with friction. They arrived already reacting to something in the structure. These are the people who never fit cleanly, not because they failed to adapt, but because some part of them kept detecting that the system itself was wrong. And within this group come the 8 types of chosen ones. Same spark, different function. The first is the seer. The gift of the seer is perception. They catch the lie early. They feel the mismatch between words and energy before facts catch up. As kids, they notice the tension in the house nobody is naming. As adults, they read the room fast and usually too accurately for everyone's comfort. People call them intense, paranoid, dramatic, too much. Then, 3 weeks later, it turns out they were right. That part happens a lot. The burden of the seer is brutal. They see it early, but they cannot force anyone else to see it when it still matters. That gap is what makes so many seers spend years thinking they're the problem. Then comes the healer. The healer's gift is restoration. People relax around them, confess to them, break open around them. Some stranger in a grocery line tells them their life story for no reason. You know the type. Their nervous system seems to make room for other people automatically, but the burden is depletion. The world treats them like they are endlessly renewable when they are not. They absorb pain without trying to. They give steadiness without noticing. Then one day they hit a wall and realize they are running on fumes. A lot of healers are not weak. They are overused. The third is the prophet. The prophet's gift is revelation. They don't just sense moods. Truth lands in them whole. Then they feel the pressure to say it, even when it ruins the atmosphere. Especially when it ruins the atmosphere, prophets tend to speak the thing everybody else is dancing around. They name the contradiction. They expose what is being covered. Their burden is rejection. A prophet often gets rejected for the exact same reason they later get proven right. They said it before the room was emotionally ready. That is more common than people admit. The fourth is the guardian. The guardian's gift is protection. They scan environments instinctively. They notice danger before it becomes obvious. They track exits, tone shifts, hidden threats, unstable people. Put them in a chaotic family, a bad workplace, or a crowded room, and some part of them is already doing security. They usually feel responsible for more than belongs to them. Their burden is vigilance. Rest is hard. Calm is hard. Even love is hard to trust fully when your body has learned to stay on watch. And once you recognize a real guardian in life, you see how often they were carrying everybody long before anyone thanked them for it. The fifth is the decoder. This is where the material starts getting sharper. The decoder's gift is pattern recognition across systems. They do not just read people, they read structures. Religion, media, family dynamics, politics, language, education, corporate behavior, social trends. They see the code underneath the performance. They usually learn fast because they do not collect facts one by one. They see the frame holding the facts together. Their burden is disillusionment. Once you see the machinery, pretending gets hard. Once you see the script, the performance stops working the same way. Decoders often look calm on the outside, while internally realizing half the room is repeating preloaded code. That does things to a person. The sixth is the anchor. The anchor's gift is stabilization. Their presence makes spaces feel more coherent. Homes feel safer. Conversations stop spinning out. People settle near them without knowing why. They carry a grounded quality that changes the emotional climate of a place. Nothing flashy, very real. The burden of the anchor is heaviness around change. They root deeply. Forced movement can feel brutal, sometimes physically, not just emotionally. They are not being dramatic. They are tied into place more than most people understand. You've probably been in someone's house where your whole body unclenches for no obvious reason. That is anchor energy. The seventh is the mirror. The mirror's gift is reflection. People see themselves more clearly around them, often without permission and usually without liking it. Mirrors do not have to attack anyone. They just exist in a way that throws hidden things back at people. That can lead to honesty, healing, breakthroughs. It can also trigger blame, defensiveness, projection, and weird hostility out of nowhere. Their burden is carrying other people's reactions to what surfaced in their presence. Some people don't even have to do anything. They just show up, and everybody's unprocessed stuff starts sweating. That is why mirrors get punished for truths they never actually spoke. Pause here. Take one slow breath. Notice which type made your body tense, or go quiet, or react at all. That reaction matters. Pause there for a second. Which type hit you hardest? Which one felt almost annoyingly accurate? Comment it below. That friction is not random. That is where your recognition starts. And now we get to the one that was held back. Because the eighth type was held back for a reason. It is the one the system would fear most if this framework is even close to true. The eighth type is the disruptor. And the first thing to understand is this. The disruptor is not just different by degree. The disruptor is different in kind. The seer sees the structure. The healer repairs what the structure wounds. The prophet names what the structure hides. The guardian shields people from it. The decoder understands how it works. The anchor stabilizes life inside its pressure. The mirror reflects what it tries to hide. The disruptor does something else. They do not just react to false systems. Their presence destabilizes them. Group dynamics change around them. Manipulation gets harder to maintain. Fake harmony starts cracking. Hidden motives get weirdly less smooth. And no, not every awkward meeting is mystical warfare. Let's not get ridiculous. But some people really do carry an effect that false systems do not handle well. Things unravel around them, not because they are trying to create chaos, but because whatever they bring is incompatible with artificial control. That is why they get flagged early. This type usually gets recognized before they can name themselves. Teachers misread them. Authority figures clamp down on them. Families cast them as the difficult one, the too sensitive one, the exhausting one, the one who asks the wrong question at the wrong time, the one who somehow keeps disrupting the fake peace everybody else agreed to perform. The system usually spots them before they have language for what they are. And here is the detail that matters most. The disruptor often carries traces of many other types at once. They may see like a seer, absorb like a healer, speak like a prophet, protect like a guardian, decode like a decoder, steady like an anchor, and expose like a mirror. That is why they rarely fit one label cleanly. That is why so many of them keep trying on descriptions that almost fit and still feel off. They are not specialists. They are composite. That makes them hard to sort and harder to contain. This is where it gets uncomfortable, because the suppression pattern maps onto real life with almost surgical precision. First, isolation. Make them believe they are fundamentally wrong. Too intense, too emotional, too strange, too much. Get them to confuse difference with defect. Get them to believe their natural frequency is the problem. You can see this all over modern life. The kid who notices too much gets treated like a problem. The adult who feels too deeply gets told to calm down. The person whose body reacts to fake situations gets called unstable instead of accurate. Second, exhaustion. Flood them with crisis, drama, emotional labor, unstable relationships, financial stress, family chaos, endless repair work. Keep them tired, keep them overloaded. Keep them in survival mode so they never get enough internal space to see clearly. A lot of gifted people are not blocked because they lack power. They are blocked because they are exhausted on purpose, whether anyone around them means to do it or not. Third, misdirection. Push their energy into safe forms of rebellion that feel meaningful but threaten nothing real. Let them fight battles that change nothing fundamental. Keep them busy, keep them expressive, keep them almost awake. Give them identities, aesthetics, side missions, endless symbolic resistance, anything except the actual center of what they are. Fourth, mislabeling. Convince them they are only one smaller type. Just a healer, just a seer, just a prophet. Enough truth to keep them circling the answer, not enough truth to let the whole thing lock into place. And if that sounds extreme, I get it. It sounds extreme until you meet enough people who have spent half their lives being told they are too sensitive, too much, too intense, too chaotic, too difficult, while somehow also being the one who could see the lie first. Then the three recognitions come in. This is the activation sequence, not someday, not after a certificate, not after a guru gives permission. Here, first, is origin. In this framework, your lifelong sense of not belonging does not mean you are damaged. It means you were never built to dissolve into this world as it is. That ache of alienness, that lifelong feeling that everybody else got a handbook you never received, that constant pressure of sensing something false in places other people call normal, that is not random noise. Call it spiritual or psychological if you want, but it is still signal. And I'm telling you, this is the part that makes a lot of people go quiet, because it flips the diagnosis. Maybe the problem was never that you were broken. Maybe the problem was that you kept trying to merge with structures your deeper nature was built to resist. Second is authority. The disruptor has to recognize they do not need permission to become what they already are. The delay is part of the trap. Every year spent waiting to be validated is a year handed back to the system. This does not mean ego. It means ending the habit of standing outside your own life, asking invisible gatekeepers if you are allowed to enter. A lot of people lose years doing that. They wait for family approval, community approval, spiritual approval, professional approval. They wait for someone official to tell them they are real. Meanwhile, the deeper thing in them is already there, already working, already reacting. Recognition is activation, not later, not someday. The moment it becomes clear, the process has already started. Straighten your spine for a second, shoulders down, chest open. Read those 3 recognitions again from that posture. It lands differently when your body stops collapsing around it. Third is function, and this one is the hardest. The disruptor is not here to improve false systems. Their function is not to make corrupt structures slightly kinder, prettier, or more efficient. Their function is to expose what is false so thoroughly that it cannot hold its shape anymore. That does not have to mean drama. It does not have to mean destruction in the cinematic sense. Sometimes it means one person refusing to participate in a lie so consistently that the lie starts breaking around them. Sometimes it means naming the pattern nobody wants named. Sometimes it means living so directly that artificial structures lose their grip. That is function, not comfort, not fitting in. Function. After that, the signs start getting weird enough that people either lean in or back away. The signs vary, but the pattern is consistent enough that it becomes hard to ignore. Many people describe synchronicities increasing, not magic tricks. More like life suddenly starts echoing back in strange timing. Old people resurface. Doors that felt sealed begin to open. Blocks that used to take months to move start shifting faster. Dreams get more vivid. Sleep changes. Some people wake up at unusual hours for a stretch. Some feel pressure in the forehead, activity in the chest, ringing or sensitivity around the ears, sudden waves through the body, like something is recalibrating, not laboratory proof. Still a pattern strong enough that dismissing it too fast would be lazy, and yes, there is often resistance at the same time. Doubt, conflict, strange setbacks. More tension with people who liked the old version of you. Sudden misunderstandings, technology acting up at the worst time, which sounds ridiculous until you have lived through enough of it to stop laughing. Some of it may be stress, some of it may be projection, but some of it tracks too closely to dismiss. And before the close, there is something else here that matters, because this is the part that hits ordinary life. A lot of people who feel different spend years trying to find a diagnosis that will make their difference acceptable to other people. They call it anxiety, trauma, sensitivity, overthinking, burnout, neurodivergence, spiritual hunger, alienation. Some of those words are real and useful. I'm not mocking any of that. But sometimes underneath all of it is a simpler truth that society does not love. Some people are hard to manage because they can feel the gap between what is being presented and what is actually real. Systems do not like that kind of person. Families often do not either. Schools usually want compliance long before they want perception. Workplaces love originality. right up until originality starts noticing structural lies. Most of the world says it wants authenticity, but what it usually wants is a version of authenticity that stays convenient. That is why the people who see too much, feel too much, or ask questions that land too close to the bone often get treated like they have a regulation problem. They are told to relax, to stop being so intense, to stop making everything complicated, to stop reading into things, to stop noticing, basically, to become easier to file. And a lot of people try. They really do. They try to become manageable enough to be loved, quiet enough to stay included, productive enough to justify their existence, harmless enough to avoid triggering the room. I've seen people do this for years, and honestly, I've done versions of it myself. You shave off the sharp edges. You explain yourself before anyone can accuse you. You hide what you sense because you are tired of being the one who always has an issue. But over time that starts costing too much, because the pain is not just that you are different. The deeper pain is that you keep asking permission not to betray yourself. That is why teachings like this grip people so hard, even when they are not sure what they believe literally, because the symbols may be ancient, but the feeling is current. The feeling of spending your whole life trying to find language for why normal life hits you wrong. The feeling of looking functional on the outside, while inwardly knowing something in the script is dead. The feeling of realizing, often late, that maybe your friction was never random. Maybe your body was not malfunctioning every time it reacted to falsehood. Maybe your resistance was not immaturity. Maybe it was discernment. Maybe growing up does not mean finally becoming acceptable to systems that misread you. Maybe it means finally stopping the negotiation. Maybe it means realizing you do not need a cleaner label. You need a truer one. And maybe that is why some people get calmer, not louder, when they finally stop asking for permission to be what they are. Not grandiose, not theatrical, just unapologizing for seeing clearly. That lands hard because it is real. Take one deep breath into your chest, hold it for 3 seconds, then let it out slowly. Do not rush past what just clicked. So here is the whole frame. Jesus in a hidden chamber after the resurrection, not speaking to the crowd, speaking to the few. A buried teaching that says the world is not what it claims to be, that some souls are fully embedded in the visible order, some flicker towards something deeper, and some carry a more active spark that cannot quite settle for the given script. Hylics, psychics, pneumatics. Then the 7 visible types: seer, healer, prophet, guardian, decoder, anchor, mirror. Then the 8th type held back until the end because it changes the whole pattern, the disruptor. The one who destabilizes false systems by presence alone. The one often marked early, mislabeled early, exhausted early, isolated early. The one who usually carries pieces of many other types at once. Then the 3 recognitions: origin, authority, function. Then the activation signs. Then the resistance. Then the strange possibility that what felt like a lifelong problem was actually a signal you were reading correctly the whole time. Comment your type below. Which one landed hardest? Which one felt too exact to ignore? And if the disruptor section explains something you've been trying to name for years, say that plainly. If you are the 8th type, comment, "The 8th awakens." Let the others see you. Subscribe now, because this is only the outer layer. The next layer goes deeper, And before you leave, notice what your body is doing right now. Sometimes, recognition lands there first. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are not too much. You may simply be the kind of person false systems have never known how to hold.